Hey, what's up, guys? Coach Oyama here. I'm just going to say this is a raw gameplay edited down to just make more sense and be a bit faster. But this entire coaching session is raw from a GM3 Echo player, and it's mostly talking about macro fundamentals and being able to identify win conditions and play with win conditions. So I recommend to any GM players who are struggling to get into GM1, this coaching session is really good for you to be able to look at. I hope you enjoy. Please like and subscribe if you like this kind of content, and tell me what you think in the comments on what kind of content I should be putting out again next. Yeah, I took a look at the games, and I have a couple of notes. First, since it's our first coaching session, well, I'll say this beforehand. After looking at the gameplay, there's a lot of decision making on what you can improve on. So your mechanics are really good, and that's not an
All
issue.
right,
So
all
it's
right.
mostly because I want to get a sense of how you think of the game, and so that comes from like your player as a background and where you've come from and how you're thinking about the game right now to try to get the most value out of the coaching. To start off, how long have you been playing Overwatch for?
So I've been playing since Christmas 2016, and I used to be a very casual player, playing mostly quick play.
I think you said you scrimmed before, right? So like, what's
Okay,
your yeah?
so basically I scrimmed for like a couple weeks for a team. It was around like 3.6 masters, mid masters. It wasn't anything like that serious, but I did enjoy it a lot, and it helped me.
Was that the only scrim experience?
Yeah,
So was that before you got to 4.3 on Echo?
yeah, before. No, actually, it wasn't on. It was on Doomfest. I used to be a Doomfest player, but I didn't like the rework and the thing, so I swapped to Echo.
Okay, gotcha. So you started playing Echo in Overwatch 2 then?
It was at the end of Overwatch 1. I wanted like another hero besides Doomfist to play, and Echo kind of like suits me because I had this thought of what if there was a hero who could like become something else, and that is literally Echo, and that really like caught my eye. She was really like interesting, like the way you play her, it's good for me. And now with Doomfist like not being that fun for me, I have like another hero to pick.
She's very interactive. So for you as a player, have you gotten coached before, or do you watch a lot of
No,
coaching?
I've never been coached. But I have watched some coaching videos, but I'm not usually I just play and just try to learn from my own experiences as I'm like a very like I'm a veteran, I would say, at this game.
Mhm. To make sure that we're on the same page, I use like a very my own set of vocabulary that mostly overlaps with a lot of other coaches. So, are you familiar with like win conditions or what I mean when I say macro and micro?
Yes.
Okay, cool. I know a lot of GM players. They get to GM and they don't understand what macro or micro is, but they do it and they know what it is and know what it feels like. So if the vocabulary ever like if you need any definitions, I'll just say it and you'll probably be like, "Oh, okay, so that's what it is." Yeah, I'll state the problem and then we'll try to work through and talk through like how you're thinking about it and maybe because it's probably going to be some like random personal thing from you where it's like, "Oh, I like think about this one thing this certain way and I rush a team fight or I take this trade or this play because I think something and it might be a miscalculation, but it's probably more going to be just like not understanding or not seeing this other part. Um,
All right. All right.
so what I notice overall is you're taking a lot of um, risky plays that don't align with your team's win cons, especially during times where um, you don't have to take risky plays and the tempo is just not. You're playing really fast into where we need to play really slow.
Yeah,
Um,
I noticed
mhm.
that I have a very hyper aggressive play style, and I kind of I'm trying right now to tune down on that. I don't like it. I die a lot, and yeah, it's kind of a problem.
Yeah, that's exactly
Yeah,
it. That's what I was gonna say.
because I'm very used to Doomfists, like go in and this that, and now when I'm like Echo, I have to play like kind of like a poke character, right? But I'm used to like the hyper aggressive play style,
Mhm.
so it's it was like a big change for me.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. And so I think you've gotten it down to the point where you're taking every opportunity, which that's not bad, and your mechanics are really good. So like the opportunities that you do get are really good. We just need to clean up the other side where it's like you're getting all of them. Now we need to just cut out the ones that you don't exactly need, with the riskier plays where you end up dying. And then once we cut those out, then opportunities where it's like you get like an A setup or like a B setup versus a C, D, or E. And you're usually not taking like F tier setups, like which is like jetting into Cassidy. You know, it doesn't make sense. It's really risky. But for example,
Right.
like going on a support at a certain point in the team fight because you see a certain cooldown come out, and because the other support is not there and you have your support is like an S tier setup where you're
Yeah.
taking everything, but now we just need to get rid of the CDE and we can play even more aggressive during the S tier setups. Which
Okay.
yeah, the aggression is not the problem, but it's more so the figuring out when those setups are coming versus figuring out how to avoid the lower tier setups. So I'm gonna go
Okay.
ahead. I'm gonna start sharing my screen, and
Okay.
I want to get your input on how you think about these team compositions. So, for example, let's look at the Eichenwald game. On
All
first
right.
point on Eichenwald. So, oh yeah. Also, the other thing that because if we get past this and like I'm thinking like we do an hour, and that should probably be able to cover it for the first time where you can just start improving after that in practice like what we were talking about. But if we get
Okay.
past that, then we're the next thing to talk about is um playing for your team, specifically for your supports, and then even harder trading aggro with your tank and your other DPS. um
Okay.
but I think this is way more important to talk about first.
By the way,
Based.
this is like a GM3 game.
Mhm. I think regardless of the rank, once you get to like GM3, until you get to like high GM1, it's kind of like the same thing. Just some of the
Yeah, I
players are
know.
worse. Um, but for you, I think let's yeah just focus on your own gameplay because there's a lot of moments where we can just clean up your gameplay and make it very easy on yourself. So with the aggression, just as a overall like perspective thing, um, you can be aggressive when it's and have the game be very easy. Um, so the entire goal here is to make the game as easy as possible for you. So getting kills would be easy rather than taking really hard 1v1s. Usually, if the 1v1 feels hard, it's either because the other player is really good, but in this rank, people aren't like that mechanically good, and you're definitely gonna mechanically diff everyone if you take good duels. So,
Yeah.
setting yourself up for the easy duels and the good duels, I guess, quote unquote, or really low risk to very high reward.
Yeah, where
Mhm.
where it's in my favor.
Yeah, yeah, and only taking those duels. So if it feels like you're the game is hard, it's probably because we're tunneling and not making good decisions. So into this team comp, so the first step to start making those good decisions is to figure out like um to be able to visualize and understand what decisions can we make. So out of the spawn doors just immediately, with your team composition, what are you thinking? Like, how are you adjusting your play with what healer, what tank, what DPS you have on your team?
All right, so I definitely think we have like not a bow comp. We have an aggressive comp. I have a Pocket Mercy, so I can play more aggressive. We have a Junker Queen. We can shout in. We have a Genji. We can dive in.
Mm-hmm.
We definitely have the more like hyper play style team here.
Mm-hmm.
But we also have a really good. We have like a rank one tank basically in our team, Luckstar.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Okay, so for the enemy team, looking at them, what are your threats and what are your targets?
my threat is the Diva, Ilaria, and Diva and Ilaria, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
The Pharah can be a threat, but they need to be good at the game to hit an echo. They need to be good, and at this rank, realistically, it's probably not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
You'll see that the Pharah actually goes echo later on and still gets diffed, like
Yeah, yeah.
not not hitting the shots midair like I am.
Mm-hmm. So this
So
should be a
the
pretty
Ilarian,
easy duel for you. I mean,
yeah,
pretty easy
yeah,
matchup, right?
yeah,
So
it is.
in the neutral, what are you playing for here? Like for your team comp to win, what is your win con on your team comp, and what is the win con for their team comp?
So let me think. I think I have to. So I want to poke a little bit at the very start of the game and get some ult charge, and then I want to see kind of how my team plays. I'm not very good at saying win conditions. I've never really like thought of this, to be honest.
Okay,
It's
okay.
like
Okay, yeah, let me help you out then. I'll verbalize like how we look at the win cons. I'll do it for the enemy team and then I'll you can do it for your team. So the first step in looking at the win con, the tank pretty much sets the tempo of the lobby, or of your team comp. So they're on Diva. So the win con, it's probably not going to be Brawl because Diva isn't cooldown based necessarily as much as some other tanks. For example, Junker Queens, like a little hint. So now that we know we have a Diva, we can either play very fast with a dive, which we haven't seen that in years, or we can play like somewhat slow and positionally to enable the rest of your team. So let's look at the rest of our team comp here. Immediately go to the healers to see how they enable the Diva. Mercy, Alari, not really enabling the Diva to dive at all. There's no Honor, there's no Lucio to be able to go in very fast, so we're probably going to be playing spammy. And then Pharah and Reaper. So it's probably going to be a lot of positional. They want to take a lot of angles, and they want to only go in when you're overextending or punishing your push to be able to hold those angles. So that Reaper is going to deny you space, the Diva is going to deny you space, and so the overall team comp's win condition is using angles, and they're going to use everything in their power. So the Diva's DM, the Reaper's fade to hold chokes, hold high grounds to deny your angles and enable theirs. So looking at your team composition, let's start with the tank, and then you just think it out, and I'll help you out.
All right, so we have Junker Queen. That does Okay, so actually to say we actually played a little bit more like a poke comp. As I know I said we're gonna play hyper aggressive, but we actually played a little more of a poke comp. You'll see here at the start of the game. We have Mercy Lari kind of enables our DPS. Junker Queen enables me and Genji. I would say with the shout,
Mm-hmm.
very helpful for us. Mercy can definitely. So I would say here that the Mercy can mostly pocket me and also have the Genji, and the Lori can mostly focus on the Junker Queen with her healing.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say our win condition is a mixture of brawl and poke, like somewhere in between.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so yeah, that's a really good analysis. So how do they pair up then to the enemy team? Do you have a better brawl than the enemy team, or do you have a better poke than the enemy team?
I think we have a better brawl with the Junker Queen.
Mm-hmm.
Junker Queen is just fully brawl.
Mm-hmm.
So compared to Diva, I would say like
Okay,
the tank the tank there makes like the whole difference.
yeah, yeah. I think it's really hard to say. These team comps aren't very polar. They're very somewhat similar.
Yeah, I
But
was thinking that they're very similar.
yeah, it's like a case by case situation where it's like sometimes they have a better brawl. Most of the time, you guys will have a better brawl. But to be honest, your spam is way better because Far sucks.
Yeah, yeah, Farad.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
if it's not Yenza,
yeah.
no.
If they don't hit every shot, then it's done. So for you, now that you know the team compositions, what is your default? Like, what do you like out of the spawn doors? You're like, okay, I'm gonna try to do this.
Just poke down middle lane, just flying in the air, just building all charge, I would say, and just poking. I also like to check like on the little. You see where the Ilaria is standing,
Mhm.
Grim. I also like to check there on the corner where the Reaper is standing, making sure that there's someone. If there's someone there,
Mhm.
I'll always check there, because usually there is. Like, either like these like DPS like Reaper, like or like these kind of DPS that like have to play close. There's some usually gonna be one there.
Mhm.
Because
Okay.
if you don't see if you don't on the middle lane, if you don't see like two poke DPS, you can instantly assume there's gonna be one hiding there in the corner. That's like gonna be like a close range DPS or something like that. I have to play like more like end to the enemy team.
Yeah. It's either over there or the staircase on the right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um. Okay. So I think that's a good analysis, and let's go even deeper into the why because you like that's a really good play, but like how did we get to that play? It denies the enemy's angles because if we think about this, like let's look at like a turn-based game where if it's your turn and you go in through main here, they're gonna collapse on you, and their Reaper here is gonna collapse on your Queen if you try rushing. And then their Alari has the high ground here if you try rushing, so it's going to be really bad for you guys. So on your turn, you flush them out of the high ground. And what that does is the Pharah no longer has this angle because she's going to be marked by you and your Alari. Um, and so once you take this angle, you deny their win condition, and you enable your win condition to brawl by making it a better brawl. Because if they're brawling out here in the open or at the corner, it's way better than the high ground. Um,
Okay.
so and then let me pull out my notes so then we don't end up just watching it unnecessarily. Yeah, let's watch how it plays out, and then what you're trying to do in these team fights. Yeah, so you're building ult charge. This is good, but it's important to keep in mind the like you can build ult charge and win every like 2 minutes, win it or have a chance at a team fight every 2 minutes. But remember, ults only speed up the macro, where your ult will deny them space at a higher rate. That's all it does. It'll
Yeah.
create space and let your team brawl even better. Um, so if we can just start with the macro early, and let's look at this. Yeah, taking the duel with the Pharah is really good.
Also,
Mhm,
a quick little note there. I noticed that they have Reaper, so I knew that I could take the duel like in the sky, because the
mhm.
Reaper won't be able to do anything there. Only the
Yeah,
Illari, because
yeah.
the D.Va, if the D.Va flies in, she's gonna be punished.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Really good decision making there. And then so now we get into the point where it's like you guys are ahead. You are so far ahead. If they res, they die. If you guys res, you're up one person, so you just res. And for your team comp here, um, now you're looking to brawl in, but is it worth the risk of dying to anything right now?
No, and honestly, okay,
Mm-hmm.
a quick little mental note here. I should have actually, instead of flying there in the little room,
Mm-hmm.
I should have just played fly in the sky and camped the Farah body.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like if you played right here, you put your Mercy around this corner, they can't do
Right.
anything. And then they have to give
Yeah.
up all space, and then from there, your brawl and your spam is way better. So,
Right, because
mhm,
most of my gameplay, a lot of the time is I just do it, but after I realized the mistake after I did what I did.
mhm,
Like I realized that well, I should have done that. I should have done it differently, and then I realized like what I should have actually done before, like after
mhm,
it actually happens.
yeah, yeah. So I think just having the idea of what the win con is in your head, while you're making these decisions, will prevent you from making these decisions. Like this play, not to say this is bad, but in this instance, because of what just happened, now this is like because it's not bad. Nothing is like bad. There's no one way to do anything. But understand this is a really risky play. And is it worth
Right.
the risk? Because if you guys were down one person, I would say this is fine. This is completely okay. This is like a decent play. But now that you're up one person, it's
But we're
so
up
risky
one.
for
We're up
nothing,
one.
right?
It's not worth it.
Yeah, yeah.
We're up one,
Mhm.
and then I
And
die here,
okay,
and then
so what do you think are the
yeah.
things like that are holding you back from being able to realize this before you like tunnel and run in?
I feel like a lot of the time I I just play to try and get the most kills. I feel like I play for stats a lot of the time, like
Mhm,
just get the most kills, and then like have more kills than the rest of my team, instead of actually
mhm,
like playing like to actually win in the
mhm.
end.
Okay, okay. I think
So
let's
it's kind
shift
of like
your
an
yeah, let's
it's kind
shift
of
the
like
way that you think about it even more. Like we're gonna be even more drastic about it. It's not about getting the kills, which you're tunneling right now just to get like value, just to like get as much value as possible. And that comes in the form of kills. It's not even about the winning. Let's just think about it as the process. So if we think about it as like a force behind why you're doing things or a gust of wind, you're pushing your win condition and denying their win condition. And that's all you're doing. It's not about winning. Even if you lose a fight, but you deny their win condition, or like you get better on the ult economy, which helps your win condition next fight. Like losing 2 fights in a row doesn't even matter. Losing 3 doesn't matter if you're like so far ahead in the ult economy that you can guarantee the rest of the match. So it's not about winning, and we just think more in the long term, like long term gratification. So every action that you're thinking, it's like, should this benefit my win condition here? Where it's like, I just got a kill. And then now you should just be laughing because the enemy team can't do anything to your win condition if you play up high.
right,
Versus tunneling and being like, I need to get more, I need to get more. Your win condition doesn't rely on you to get more. It relies on your queen to get more. So now it's your queen's job to go in, and you can go in with your queen and only go in with your queen to get those kills. Because it's not about you getting value, it's about you putting value in for your win condition. And if if like you getting a kill is good, I mean it's really good, but like over the long run, over the next 100 times, getting that risky kill versus getting a kill with your win condition, I would much rather have you get a kill with your win condition because those are where the good plays come from, versus the sloppy plays that work out sometimes, won't be as consistent and it'll lead you to
Right.
habits like this.
It's about the consistency.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So let's look at another. I noticed that when the map is very linear and there aren't very many flanks or lanes or relevant lanes, you do really well. So this, for example, you get a pick, and they're not abusing the high ground, so it's pretty much just a one lane fight. And then you play this really well, where instead of continuing to go in, you just sit on the high ground, you wait, you deny the res. I think coincidentally denying the res really enables your win condition here.
I actually wanted to cast the res. That's what I was doing there. I
Yeah,
was
yeah,
capping the
yeah.
body.
So I know you weren't thinking about the win condition, but denying the res is really good, and it also plays with the win condition, which is really good for you. And then you choose to go in, yeah, once your team goes in, and you're in with your queen, and this is beautiful.
Because when I took out the echo, that was the only person that could kill me, so no one could stop me from camping the body. That was their only like threat to me.
Mhm.
Because Reaper can't do anything, Mercy, Lowry, Hog, no one can do anything to me there.
Mhm. Okay, let's talk about because your win condition will you can wait to use your win condition instead of rushing every fight. And so a good example is when you're winning, I want you to greed your cooldowns. By greed your cooldowns, I mean only use it when you know you're going to get a ton of value. So this engagement here is pretty good because it's like very low risk. You don't have to commit anything, and the echo is messing up, and so you're going in and trying to get this pick here. And you decide that this is a good engagement, and you play this really well for your win con, and you play this. The reason why I like this engagement is because the card is still pushing. If the cart was not pushing, I would say taking this engagement was bad. But I just wanted to show you like a good example of like where you're playing for your win con, and you're playing super far forward, but it's good because it's in the right context.
Right.
Now let's look at like right here actually, where you get the kill on the hog, and then you take the duel with the echo right after when you don't have your cooldowns. Where not to say that like this was a I'm not gonna harp on you on this death, but just knowing the fact that you're still pushing the cart, so you don't need to die at all here. If you play as slow as possible and as methodical, remember your number one priority is your life, and then number two is like enabling your win con, because you can't. Yeah, it's like a prerequisite. You just can't enable the win con if you're dead. But okay, let's go to 444. I think this only happened a couple of times, but you were panic copping. Where I think this is just tunneling, where you're in the back line, you're like, I want to live, I want to live.
Yeah. Well, when I copy the Mercy there and just die, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So that happens again in I think it was was it no Hollywood. Um, but that's like one thing that you can just like immediately fix, where it's just like your team isn't there having the awareness, and you do have the awareness because I know your mechanics are really good. And then let's go to 6, yeah, right here, where this is a really good copy going into the enemies. If we look at the fight, where there are 3 pillars that determine whether or not you're going to win a fight, it's cooldowns, health, and positioning, where they forfeit all of their positioning and they're all out in the open here, and it's really bad for them. Their Rhine gets really low, and so they have no health. And you guys are pretty much even in cooldowns, except you have your ult, which is a cooldown, actually. Think about it like,
Yeah.
again, it's not like, it's just an ability. It's a really strong ability. And so you punish their positioning, and you wait for like them to be completely out of position. They can't brawl anymore. They've used everything. They're out in the open. And so you punish them really hard with this copy, which is good. Let's look at this fight over here. Okay, yeah, here. Or maybe not here. Okay, so this is where I was talking about greeting cooldowns, where instead of looking for kills, you want to enable your win con where it's like you can get the kills here, but it's very risky. But I'd rather much see you farming ult off the hog and looking for an opportunity where greed your cooldowns means only use your cooldowns when you can kill, or be in a
Okay.
position where you want to
All
be
right.
able to kill them easily. So let them come into you and let them take these terrible positions where she has to overextend into main to be able to get to you, or take any space, and then you have a really nice fight on your hands versus always going in. This isn't the best example, but let's go on to the another example where it's more pertinent. This timestamp here is another rush copy, where I think, again, you're tunneling on just value, where if we look at the cart, this is an example of if you're winning, you need to do everything you can to, where this is more of like a staggering example, where it's kind of different. But they're on cart, this fight doesn't really have to do anything with cart, and your team is down 2, where I'd much
Right.
rather
Okay.
see
So
you...
yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. This fight is basically pointless for me to use my ult there because
Yeah,
the card is so far back. Why would I even do anything there? Like I should just play
exactly.
slow and just live.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, because even if you win this fight, they're still pushing the cart, so it didn't even
There's no
matter.
push in the car, so
Yeah.
it was pointless.
Mhm. Let's go to 11:30, where this is a really good copy.
Oh yeah, the Ana copy. I like that.
Yeah, this is a really good copy you're saving on the cart. So this is like an exact opposite, where it's like you're playing on the objective, and not to say on the objective is good all the time, but in this specific team fight, this is a very good tempo on your copy. Um, let's go to 12. Okay, this is so I'm gonna go over every example when you're following your win con and when you're not following your win con. And so this is a
Okay.
really good example of following your win con, because if we look at your team now, you guys do have a pretty decent brawl, but you have a really, really strong spam into them. Genji is decent into spam, even though he's very cooldown based, because he can pressure and deny angles. So for you, the high ground is everything. All the angles for you. She can't contest you if you're on the high ground, or if you start on the high ground, because if she jets up, you jet up over and you still have the high ground.
Yeah.
So contesting this high ground is a really good job here, and that's the reasoning why, because you get all the angles, so they have to use something in their comp, like a brawl. They have to use their abilities to brawl to be able to take the high ground from you, and that's just denying their win con, because now they can't brawl in and kill. They have to brawl in to get
Right.
the angles, and then it's so bad for them. Let's look at 12:45, another rushed copy. Oh, this one. It's not a rushed copy, but I'd much rather see you copy the tank if you can prioritize the tank, because tanks are just like OP in their kits even with the nerfed health. Um
Hey, honestly, okay, I want to say something about copying tanks. This
mhm,
might be a really hot take. I actually don't like the copying most things because of the health nerf. I find it
hmm,
like just very difficult. Yeah, the kits are good, but you die so quickly. I
yeah,
feel
yeah.
like I feel like healers are so much better to copy. Healers get so much value because of the cooldowns.
Hmm. Perhaps. I think in this situation it's kind of, yeah, it's kind of like nominal, but yeah, I think maybe it might not even be better, cuz they're both decent. I
And
don't
this
know.
situation, they're
Mhm.
both decent, I think.
Yeah, because the reason why I didn't want you copying the Ana is because there's no way that you enable your team. And so it's like using your, unless you think you're better on Ana than your diva. Because the
Nah.
point of copying the Ana is like a very high risk to kill an enemy if you want to kill an enemy, or stall cart if you want to stall cart. And it's more so to enable your team by or by like harming the enemies and not fragging out or stalling. Where as the diva you could stall way harder. Because you have like no teammates to enable here. So let's go on to the next one. Yeah, so not that one's not as important as like looking at the win cons. Okay, this is an example of where you're doing a really good job not committing to a fight until you see a really good opportunity, and you allow your tank to brawl in and you play off of your tank. So you do really well when the map is linear like this and there's no like side angles or high grounds to play off of. You play very conservatively and only go aggressive when you see the opportunity arises and it's very easy. Like, you just make it easy on yourself. If we look here, you're not like jetting across and trying to get a kill on the Ana. You're just waiting for the opportunities to come in front of you.
Right, yeah.
And then let's go to 1830. Okay, so this is one of the kills where or this is one of the fights where it was a very risky play and it worked out, but I'd much rather see you just play for the win con, where your cast dies and you decide to like go hard in, and you do kill the Mercy. Or was this the fight where you kill the Mercy?
Yeah, I do kill the Mercy.
Yeah. You do kill the Mercy, but you end up going over everyone else, which it's good that you're punishing the like the worst player on their team for being bad, which is like the ideal strategy in comp. But just so you know, it's so much easier to shoot the hog and like and build your ult in this fight, since you guys already have the angle, and wait for your queen to choose a target. So since she's shooting the hog here, this is a very risky play on the Mercy, and it's really good that you get it. Just look at the other options, and it's more like the habit behind what's going on, not the result of what actually happened. Because if we're just looking at the result, if we're like in a tournament, I'd be like, oh, that's great. But because we're building habits and practicing right now, I'd much rather see you enabling your win condition. But that's kind of like a slippery slope, because it's like then you won't win your comp games sometimes because you're not punishing the weaker players and you're doing the right thing. So just to say, like, when you go up and play a harder game, don't look for these kills, because these kills will not arise.
Yeah, because there's not gonna be bad players like that doing.
Yeah, it's more of like a theoretical thing, but. So it's like don't build a bad habit, because in the future it won't work. And then you'll get really frustrated because you're like, oh, I can't kill the Mercy, so I don't know what to do. Where it's like, if we practice like playing for the win con and shooting whoever you're, or building your ult and then going in on your brawl and taking angles and denying their win con. Okay, let's look at 230 is a rushed engage here. Perhaps I was tripping. Hold on. Let me try and figure out why I wrote this down. Okay. I think I wrote it down because I wanted you to also look just at the opportunity of break their shield and they have nothing. You guys always tag better. Always mark this echo better. Because you have the high ground in your Ana. The Genji can't really touch you at all, and so if you play this fight out, where force them to use everything to make the fight go forward, and then you can use your ult. Unless you see like an easy team wipe. Oh, your Kiri also rushes. All right, never mind. I was wrong on my analysis.
No. Okay, so here I was actually scared about the echo killing me. That's why I copied, because he was beaming me with a damage boost, and I was almost half health.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah, I think that's a bad timestamp then. What is this? That's right. I'm looking at the wrong timestamps. That's why this doesn't make sense.
Oh, okay.
Okay, 445. Where you were playing for your win con really well. Let me see. Let me look at an example here. Okay, yeah, denying the enemy Orisa, kiting when they're trying to brawl and using your angles. And then when it's your turn, you guys go in and you brawl in and completely destroy them. So that's what I liked about that play.
Okay.
633. Okay, so this is one of the ones where... Let me rewatch the play again for a second. Yeah, so this unnecessary death, where it's like, you know your win con is using the angles and then brawling in when your tank goes in. So if your tank goes in, no need to do dumb things with the dumb players on your team. You can still use these angles and prevent them and deny their win con with your angles. And they're not even pushing the cart, so you can just build ult here. You don't have to make anything happen. Or I think you see someone goes in, you're like, you see red, and you just want to go in. Versus if you just kept on backing, you would deny them on cart for even longer, and your hog would probably get back. So that's the difference between having 40 ult charge for or having your ult and not having your ult at the next fight. Because you guys are going to lose this position anyways, and they're going to push the cart, and you're going to have to back up. But then you're going to have your ult for the next fight.
All
So
right.
kind of a small thing, but it ends up being a big thing over like, you know, if it repeats itself. Um, I think this one was kind of just tragic. Yeah, I didn't want to write this down because it was like it was you created a pinch, which was good, and you almost killed a soldier. That was like kind of just a funny play.
Yeah, that was just kind of silly, kind of a silly play.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't bad or anything. I thought that was just funny. That wasn't a
Yeah.
timestamp or anything. I just wanted to mention it. Um. Okay. This ult I'm upset about. This ult is like
Yeah.
reading the team fight where yeah, again, you just see red and you're not thinking about your win con. It's like it's not your turn. You guys have no angles. You have no brawl in. They're wasting ultimates here, and you decide to just end up popping your ult. If it feels hard and you don't know what's going on, I'd rather just have you dissociate and save cooldowns. Um,
All right.
where because like there are team fights where you definitely get lost, and then that's where like if you're in a scrim setting or in a very competitive setting, or if you're hearing someone call and they're saying winnable, otherwise, just listen to your target caller or whoever's calling a target and focus the same targets, and pray for the best and don't ult. Or like have your notion in your head that like shit's going down. They have a really big advantage. Is this really worth ulting? And if you do ult, make sure that you know that like possibly that you thought this fight was savable, and that's just a miscalculation. So for next time,
Yeah,
then
I did think it was savable.
okay, okay. Um, let's look at 1103 and 13 again, where like you not reading the fight properly or not playing with your win con. I think this was just not respecting the sig, and there's an Ash up top, and then also kind of on your supports. But that goes into I feel like it comes from your aggression. That wasn't just like an unlucky play. It's like you really wanted to stay up top or stay up forward, and so you just kept on pushing forward even though you were low health. And this again, like you just keep on want to push forward, and you didn't respect the
Okay,
Sigma.
no, that play was just I don't even know how that. I literally flew into the rock.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, okay, let's look at Esperanza. Yeah, I think your worst map here was definitely the Eichenwald because the high grounds and the chokes. There were more lanes to play on, which makes it a bit harder for you. And then that's your one weak suit. But linear maps like Hollywood, where it's just deny high grounds and play down main, and then third point Eichenwald, where it's just like play down main, were really good for you. Um, okay, let me go to the timestamps. Okay, this engage here where well, let me make sure I know what I'm talking about. Am I looking at the wrong timestamps again? 2:30 is when I. Oh yeah, 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 this death here, where you guys are ahead, and all you need to do is stay ahead and look for to enable your win con. Your team is done brawling in. If you just go to the high ground and deny the high ground, again, this is an example of like you're gonna have to give up the space eventually. But I'd much rather see you instead of going aggressive. It doesn't go with your win con at all. So just play for your win con. Your win con says set up for the next fight, and just play the high ground, use the angles, and build ult charge. So then next fight you're able to brawl in with your team.
Okay.
Well, I mean, yeah, the death is kind of unfortunate, but I can tell that like the habit of like looking to just set up for the next fight, looking for your win con is in there. Okay, 335. Oh, this is one of those ones that I was just kind of on the edge about. Kind of like a no comment, but what I guess let me ask for your opinion on this team fight. Would it be better to just not copy and go back to your team?
Um, I feel like it was 4v4, so I feel like the copy was worth it. My healers weren't up there to heal me. The hog was coming up. I think he ults there too. Yeah, he ults.
Mhm.
So I was about to die, and I thought maybe it was savable, the fight, because you see I'm 1 HP there,
Yeah, yeah. Because yeah,
but
I
my
understand.
healers aren't there.
Yeah, I was thinking the exact same thing, and I'm just I don't know. Maybe this. I think this one was literally just literally unlucky. Um,
Actually, my soldier does die. It was a 3v4, so I actually maybe shouldn't have copied.
mhm. What are some of the other things that we can do here? I'm just brainstorming. I'm not even coaching right now. I'm thinking about like, because if you save your ult and just decide to lose this team fight, then you have your ult for next team fight, and they get zero card space. They push to like this corner. Like if
Yeah.
you just
So
decide to die, but it was winnable.
yeah, I feel like it was winnable.
Yeah. So yeah, I think we just mark this one down as unlucky. Sometimes it'd be like that.
Yeah.
Okay. 640 is the next timestamp. Okay, yeah, this is a good engage where. So the reason why this is a good engage where you're playing very aggressively is because you force the Genji up into you, away from his supports and take the one. So this is like this is honestly kind of an ego duel, but it's good because if you can ego duel him, it's really good for your team. You're holding a
Actually,
decent.
I
Mhm.
I actually wanted to get someone to come to me to like throw them off.
Okay, that's really good, and you're denying the high ground for the enemies and letting your team set up in main. So I think this copy is a really good copy. It's a very risky copy, but compared to your copies before, the risk made sense. So even if you don't get like a really big team wipe with this copy, I really like the copy because it makes space for your team and plays to your win con.
Yeah, another thing here, when I got out of copy, I should have honestly just backed up because like when Echo goes out of copy, she's 100 HP if she's lower. So
Mm,
I was 100 HP and I went in and the soldier could have killed me very easily. I got out of
mm.
like very hardly.
Yeah, yeah. This is a really good team fight. You use your angles to your advantage, and instead of going in, it's like it's pretty obvious, but I wanted to point it out. Like it's their turn, they're using their blade. You peel, you kill the blade, and then now you go in. Um,
Yeah.
is there? Okay, this this fight here, where you're going in. Um, I would say the one thing is either decide to go in way earlier, and because it's now your turn. They just use Nano Blade. They're backing up. Either fly to this high ground, or make the decision to fly to this high ground or back up. Just get into a place or do something um to be able to take advantage of this, because you were kind of just like floating in the open.
I could have killed the Ana there if I went up. I could have killed the Ana.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, this is a really hard situation, so there's not like too much to look at, but I think being a little more proactive.
Yeah.
I don't really expect you to be that proactive because that'd be like if I was like fighting in Owl Pro, then I'd be like, yeah, what are you doing in main? But like that was a really hard judgment. So this fight though, this is the same thing like as where you were taking that eagle duel with the Genji. But like, did you need this? Like, was this worth the risk? Um, I think it's not bad to commit to this, but especially when you like forcing it. Like if we look at it in 0.5 times, so we know that like what's going on every second. Let's speed it up. So you look for it. Looking for it is good. 0.25 times. When you get him down to half health, and then you're still peeking instead of looking to make this not a fight, or like wide swinging and committing to this fight is more important of like what I wanted to point out where you're like you're hard committed to this. You use your jets, your stickies are still on cooldown, and you're expecting to 100% win this fight, and there's no fallback plan. Where if you just lived, it would be so much easier for your team.
I could have actually. You see where my Alaria is?
Mm-hmm.
I could have stayed on that bridge on top and just waited for my stickies and threw the stickies at the soldier because I knew he was gonna run in there.
Mm-hmm.
I could have just thrown the stickies at him from there and
Yeah,
stayed
yeah.
with my with my healers in sight.
Mm-hmm. So, one other thing that I'll mention here, if we're talking about like the best play to do, the most consistent one, on push, if you have the lead, even if you don't have the bot, you can just play slow, like as greedy as possible. So even if you're getting support, like so this is the most greedy. No, this is the riskiest play to just go take this 1v1 with the soldier. The next one would be like flying up here and marking him. The next least greediest play would be marking the supports and looking to fly back up. The safest would be just sitting up here. Anything safer
Yeah.
than that, and just it's just a throw, giving up space. But because you have the lead, and like this isn't like really important right now because I'd rather just you play for your win condition and understand the tempo of the fights. Like standing up here is probably the one of the best decisions. But this isn't like a completely out of the equation. It wouldn't be like terrible to stand up here because you guys have the lead in this team fight. You can wait for them to mess up, or the bot just keeps on pushing and they give up all the space. And they have to mess up or they have to give up the space. Um, so you make your life really hard trying to 1v1 the soldier. And so even if you win this fight, I still would say like this is a very I would
Yeah,
still
it
point
wasn't
this
worth
out.
it.
Yeah.
It's too inconsistent.
Yeah, yeah. Or not inconsistent because um I don't care about the inconsistency. I care about like the win con and like where it is in the team fight. Because you taking the like 1v1 with the Genji earlier, where you had copy and he had blade, that was like completely fine because you guys needed to make something happen. But here, when your team is completely winning and you have the angles, just play the angles and wait for your hog to do something, which he's dead apparently. Or no, no, your diva to do something, which is pushing the cart or going in. Oh, she is going in.
Yeah. And he gets the soldier kill.
Never mind. I was wrong. I didn't see that. But I think if you want to tone it down even more, I would say play your life, prioritize your life even more, and just sit on the still until the diva goes in, and then you have an even easier kill. Um, because this is also a risky play from the diva, where you guys could have just played main, and they could have main and high ground, and they couldn't do anything. But yeah. So I guess it's not as bad as I thought it was, but just opening your eyes to a little more possibility then.
Yeah, yeah, I get it.
Um, I think that's most of it. Yeah, if not all. And then the rest of your plays were pretty good. So for the notes for you would be like one, look for your win con always. And then two is like no your panic ults is an easy one. And then I think number three is understanding the tempo of the fight and looking like when taking the risky 1v1s makes sense. Because
Okay.
if you're looking for the win con and you understand that you're up one and you have angles, you're probably never going to take the risky 1v1s. Um, but there are moments where like taking the risky 1v1s are still good. Even though you're still up and it's still worth it because the downside would be like so minimal. Um, but I think for the most part, for you just understanding the win con and playing greedy for your win con and not like overexerting yourself to try to go in when your team's not ready to brawl, or like for example that like Reaper death on first point Eichenwald, where you guys had the win con that was like so obvious to just like chill for a second, wait for your queen to go in, and then you can use your turn or even just kite to point, and they're gonna have a really rough time dealing with that because it's like so far into your win con and denying their win con so hard that like even if the echo comes back, you guys are most likely winning that fight.
Yeah, we're gonna. Yeah, the fight's like basically won.
Yeah, yeah. Just from the position. Um, not even the health or the cooldowns, just from your like proactive positioning and looking at the right decisions on where to deny their win con. Do you have any questions about what we were talking about?
Not really. I'm actually like happy with this session.
Yeah,
I do have a question. Like, where should I start like scrimming? I want to start scrimming.
you can start scrimming anytime. I would recommend just like finding a team. Echo is not in meta, so that kind of sucks, and you'd be an Echo specialist if you only play Echo. Um, but I think it could be good for your development to like flex over. Um,
I play Zarya and Doomfist a
oh,
lot of.
okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You can definitely start scrimming. I would say find a team that wants like 4.1 or 4.2 and try to stretch your limits. Because as a player, if the team, because a lot of teams like don't make sense and they don't look at players and they don't do their due diligence and actually look. With your skill level, you can probably like, especially if you get coach, you can play at like 4.4. Um,
Yeah.
I think, yeah, if Echo somehow becomes meta, I'd be willing to take you onto my team, which we're shooting for contenders. But
All right.
Echo is not meta right now, and it wouldn't
Yeah.
make
Yeah.
sense. But yeah, I'll
Yeah. It
still help
doesn't.
coach you, and I think once you get into a scrim environment where things like start to do happen as they should more often than not, um, then you'll be able to grow more as a player.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so you can definitely like for now search for a team that has coaching consistent scrims and don't like some like random advice because I've like seen formation and destruction and form my own teams and seen them destroy themselves and whatever. As long as you find a team that's very accommodating and that isn't like that is very easygoing and they don't get mad. Like if it feels like if you get annoyed with the team or if it's frustrating, just leave and find a different team.
All
So
right. Like, no
um
hesitation.
yeah. If you're having fun and you feel like you're improving, that's all you want from a team. You
Yeah.
don't need to be winning tournaments or anything right now. As long as you get the experience and you're learning and having fun while doing it, that experience is like invaluable because the next team that you get after that will probably be really good and you'll probably be able to get like a top like 30 OD team. Or like if you're really good, then you can get like a top 10 OD team. But for your first team, like just to learn all the macro and understand how to play in a scrim environment and get really used to it for maybe like a couple of months if you're fast, like 1 or 2 months. Yeah,
Yeah.
you can find like a like any org out there.